Hello, listeners. Hello, everybody. It is Riggs. We have a big show. We have a great show today. It's one of my favorites. We have a guest that you probably won't believe, very unique. We have the Caddie from Happy Gilmore, who is now essentially a research brain psychiatric doctor. And with us and our brains and everything that we get into, you can only imagine where this conversation goes. His name is Dr. Jared Van Snellenberg. Amazing name. And we'd also like to remind you to tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time on our Foreplay YouTube channel, the first video from our Vegas travel series, Rio Seco, with Butch Harmon following us for 9, 10, 11 holes. An amazing ending is airing tonight, so be prepared. Please watch that. Enjoy the show. Let's talk some golf. Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports. God, I love starting the show with a laugh and a complete debacle. But Jake Bass, producer Jake Bass, behind the scenes, big thanks to Jake and to eBug, as always, says that it helps. It's the only way to clap sync. We record locally. We're doing a whole thing. So we're back. Ryan has a microphone.
Before we get started, hold on. Did that actually help? Because that was the worst clap I think we've ever given, so I don't think that could.
You don't think that helped? Jake, do you think that helped? Talk to us from the clouds.
No, that one, not as much.
Can we clap mid-show? Does that help, or is that just going to drive people off the side of the road?
No, at the very end, we'll do a clap sync then, and I'll figure it out from there.
I do have a microphone this time around. I want to formally apologize to all the listeners from the last episode. I was not using a microphone, and I just had the headphone mic scratching up against my luscious beard the whole time, and people did not like that, and I want to apologize. Jake Bass got me a mic, so hopefully we will never have that problem again.
Yeah, people said that every time you spoke, it sounded like you were crunching like wrappers in your mouth as you were speaking to them.
Which is truly unfortunate because, we talked about the whole Breaking 100 series. That's finally happening. Like, that was a big thing that's going on in my world. And people were like, I can't fucking listen to this at all because it sounds horrific. But better this time around. Hopefully that will never happen again.
You sound very clear and very smooth today, Trim.
Thank you.
One of the benefits of not having a beard is that it can't rustle up against your hair.
A little peek behind the curtain here. We were about to hop on, and producer Jake said to Frankie, hey, man, I think you got like a soul patch going on. And I've never seen Frankie jump out of a chair faster and run to shave his face. He is now a clean-shaven man. And I almost wish that Jake hadn't said anything because the soul patch and your facial hair is such a disaster that I wanted to grow out again.
Oh, boy. And unfortunately,
I was also thinking, I think it's because we were having a little pre-Rangers Islanders talk too. So I think the soul patch was like, now we can't criticize me about anything. So if I shave this, I can just hammer Lurch about the Islanders Rangers with simply no comeback. And so, yeah, you shot out of your desk like a cannon to shave that thing off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on top of the world today for sure. There's no denying that. Was at the Nassau Coliseum last night. I went to Borelli's pregame, got myself a chicken parm with 3 of my buddies. We're all in a group text about the Islanders for years, and we finally all got to a game together. Islanders-Rangers. Playoff implications couldn't be higher for the Rangers. They were 8 points behind the Islanders with a chance to bring it to 6, with a chance to go within 4 points of the Bruins. Islanders dismantle their organization. One of the more just mean, bullying type wins I've ever seen in my entire life. Trouba got knocked back to fucking Winnipeg by Matt Martin. Literally didn't know where he was anymore. I'm praying for him and his safety and his family. But yeah, it was a good game. It was great to be back at the Coliseum laughing at people as all the Ranger fans that fill up the Collie. They're all sitting there drinking their soft drinks. It was fun. It was a fun night.
The other side would be hanging with your dad and brother for the first time in 6 months to watch this game that has playoff implications from the other side and be ready to turn it off after 10 minutes into the third period because it was a mess. And then E-Bug's buddy, I don't even know his name. His name's like Biatento or something. Potato. He's the worst defenseman I've ever seen play the game of hockey. He refuses to bend his knees and move anywhere quickly. He just stands up like a pylon, makes horrible passes. It was a horrible game. Let's talk about golf.
Not a hockey podcast.
That sounds lovely. A lot of news in the world of golf right now. A ton of news. People are weighing in from all angles, from all different vantage points on the player impact program. So we're going to go through that whole thing. It's really tied to a lot of things that we've talked about, a lot of things that we do, a lot of the different players that we've highlighted or talked negatively about or whatever. Another thing we like to highlight. What is this right here, fellas?
Owen's Mixers.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
That's the Paloma, I think I see. Is that Paloma mix in your right hand?
Yeah, this is your little your grapefruit and lime, my friend.
That's delicious.
Lurch,
Doesn't it
I
look
had
nice?
a Paloma. I had a Paloma the other day.
Amazing.
Nice.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
Isn't it really good? And the
Really.
good thing about what they offer is that's just like, it's obviously the mix, so you can do that with tequila or vodka. So you're either doing a Greyhound, which is another lovely drink with that grapefruit, or with tequila, it's a Paloma. And isn't it refreshing and just kind of like, it's like an upper drink with a tequila, obviously. It gives you a little energy. But it's my favorite, honestly.
I mixed the tequila with the Owens Mixers grapefruit and lime mix. I threw a little lime in there, so as you had a couple sips, you had a little bit of the citrusy lime, like in your teeth or on your lips, and you really just felt like you were at a beach. I said the breeze hitting your face, just good vibes. It's a good vibes drink. You can't feel bad
Certainly.
drinking a Paloma.
Did you hate it a little bit because it's from me?
No, you didn't invent the Paloma. I mean,
This grapefruit and lime from Owen's Mixers says it pairs with tequila, vodka, and champagne. So, like Lurch said, there's plenty of different options. Owens is continuing to expand into different places. That champagne thing really threw you for a loop.
what's the name of a grapefruit, lime, and champagne drink?
No idea.
The
Trent
Pomosa?
just tried to come up with a funny, witty joke, but couldn't. I saw.
Yeah, I had nothing.
I see champagne Paloma. It's
Yeah, I'm
literally
trying to think
champagne Paloma, which is,
It's weak.
yeah, I would like
think
a
we can
better
come up
name
with a
than that,
better name.
honestly. Yeah.
But owensmixers.com, I see a lot of folks tweeting.
Let's call it bubble fruit.
Folks tweeting, how can I find the transfusion? How can I find these things? You go to owensmixers.com. They have a store locator on the site, and they've got them in Publix. They got them in Kroger's. They got them in a lot of different spots. So big thanks to Owens for supporting us, and go out and support them. They have the transfusion as well. The bubbly what mix?
Bubble fruit or something.
Bubble
I'm trying
fruit.
to think. I mean, let me grab a bubble fruit. It's kind of soft.
Let's think on it. Let's
workshop that one. Bubble fruit or whatever you said, I don't think is the winner.
Circle back.
Yeah.
Circle back. Player Impact Program. So this broke yesterday by our guy, Eamon Lynch, who's one of our favorites, who will never come on our show because, I know he likes us, but I think he hates us as much as we could talk more about that another time. I don't know how to describe his feelings on us. But he'll never come on our show. And I think largely because he knows that the way that he likes to speak to us in real life is not the way that he could speak to us on the podcast, and he can't handle those two things.
It is funny when I see him do a hit on Golf Channel, and I'm watching him speak in a way that I just know that that's not how he's feeling. Like, actually, honestly, you say he won't come on the show, and I think you're right, but this is the only place where he can speak the way he actually speaks. So I think he's doing himself a disservice not coming on here, because when I see him on Golf Channel, that is not the Eamon Lynch that I know.
Correct. And he is maybe our favorite person in the world of golf to speak to privately. And I chirp him all the time of like corporate polished Eamon on Golf Channel is a shell of the real Eamon Lynch, who is one of the funniest people I've ever met, and the things that he says to us in private would make you love him more than anyone as well. Anyway,
because there is part of him that despises what we do for whatever reason, but what he doesn't realize is we're just like him, just in different places.
Right. That's exactly right. We're just in a different spot, and we love him. I think he loves us, and he's
awesome.
He broke this story. He writes for Golf Week. He broke the story yesterday that the PGA Tour has created something called the Player Impact Program. The nuts and bolts of it is there's now a $40 million bonus pool that will be rewarded to 10 players based essentially upon their overall impact on moving the needle in the world of golf, and more specifically the PGA Tour. This is going to measure, their social impact. It's going to measure their TV impact when they're shown on television, Nielsen ratings. It's going to measure all these different things, as well as a little bit of their FedEx Cup performance, and award legitimately a portion of $40 million to said player, top 10 players, based on these different metrics. The number one, finisher in this little leaderboard will get $8 million for the year. I've gone back and forth a lot personally on this whole thing, but just generally as a show, what do we think?
I'm actually surprised at how good of an idea it is for the game of golf. And maybe you guys disagree with that, but like it seems like an idea, like a theoretical idea that someone outside of golf would come up with and be like, hey, the PGA Tour, you should do this, that they would never think about doing, but they've just done it. They're already rolling it out. They started rolled out January 1st, and they're just doing it now. I'm curious to see, because it seems all good on the face of it, but I'm wondering what effect it's actually going to have on the players and what they're going to do in order to vie to be paid out by this pool. That's what I'm curious to see. But I think overall, when I read it and I read the description of it, I think it's a pretty damn good idea. No?
Well, I don't know that it's not that original of an idea. Didn't the Premier Golf League, this league that was supposed to take away the biggest names of golf, wasn't this one of their big Wasn't this one
selling points?
One of their big selling points to bring over these guys? Like, you have a lot more opportunity to make a shit ton more money over here by your brand. Your branding can be bigger. The purses will be bigger. Like, this was their counterpoint to that, to keep them here, right?
Well, right. This was a direct response to that. And if, there was a point where Rory McIlroy was being touted and being kind of referenced a lot with the Premier Golf League, and then it's no coincidence that earlier this year he gets hired or appointed, I guess I should say, as, the Player Advisory Council, and then all of a sudden they're rolling out this bonus program for moving the needle. So it is very clear that, the Premier Golf League and the threat of, starting this league with the biggest names in golf, not necessarily the biggest talents in golf, and a lot of times those coincide, but they don't always, comes as that chatter in the last year or two picked up a lot. And it also comes right on the heels of our conversation with Pat Perez, interestingly enough, where, we spoke a lot about the difficulties of making it as a professional golfer and how your performance on the golf course, a very rare sport where your performance on the golf course week in, week out, is essentially the only way that you can get directly paid by the golf organization or the golf entity. Yes, you can make money on the side via sponsorships, but in terms of your actual pay from the PGA Tour, from golf tournaments, it is just directly dependent on how you perform on the golf course, which other sports just aren't like that. Like, you get a salary, you earn a huge salary. There's a portion of guaranteed money, depending sport by sport, that you can go out and suck for 6 weeks straight and you still make a $25 million a year or whatever it is. And for those 6 weeks, you make, the proportion of that $25 million, it is what it is. Golf's not like that. If you suck for 6 weeks, you miss the cut for 6 weeks, you're losing money because you're traveling all over the place. There are entry fees. You're paying for a house and hotels and all this other. You're paying for your caddy. You're paying for all this shit, and you could lose money. In theory, this is now, for some people, a way where there will be supplemental income, significant supplemental income, simply for being an impactful player in the world of golf.
So that's why, why not just extend it to the whole PGA Tour, in my eyes? I think that you can still pay those top individuals, the most money or a huge percentage, but why not give it out to the whole PGA Tour? Everybody that makes a start gets some sort of check at the end of the year to further the game of golf and use their social media platforms and ask them and ask everybody to promote the game. So I just find it weird that it's stuck to the top percentage of players, because I just don't think that makes any sense. I think, why not just ask everybody who makes a tour start to further the game, to promote the game? And then I think the metrics are still a mess. Nielsen ratings are way outdated. Those things are just about worthless. Nobody has a Nielsen box anymore. And then the last point is, Tiger Woods just going to be first even if he doesn't play? Is he still just going to be the top guy that gets paid each year out of this thing?
Well, I think Brooks Koepka said that he should you can put him at number one every single year because he deserves that for what he's done for the game. But I do think I feel like Tiger Woods can put out one tweet and he he dwarfs everything that every other player could possibly do. Like it seems if the metrics don't put Tiger Woods at the top every single year, it seems like there's something wrong with the metrics.
Well, yeah, and like Tiger Woods could put out 0 tweets and he'll dominate the category every year. That's never going to be an issue, but it's also not an issue that anyone's going to have related to the tour. They're all fine with it. Like if they actually just said, I was texting with Max about this earlier. Like if they just said, hey, we're going to pay Tiger Woods a $40 million thank you bonus right now, everyone would be like, all right, yeah, that sounds legit. Probably deserves a little bit more. Like that's great.
It does feel a little bit like they could have just called it the Tiger Woods retirement plan. Because if he's not going to be able to play, or he's not going to play as well as he has in the past, obviously, we'll see. But like if they just want to give him $8 to $10 million every single year, I think all players are okay with that.
Yes, and I think, where it's going to get tricky is I actually think on principle, a lot of people agree with this. Like the PGA Tour, like any other league, and the NBA gets probably this the best, where the NBA thrives on the drama and and a lot of the sort of, I guess, halfway in between, like on court and off court stuff, where the NBA has embraced that, and it's become like a lot of it is the super teams and the players chirping each other and going back and forth and where they go and how one player can have a huge impact in the NBA more so than one player in a lot of other sports, and that's driven a lot of the interest in the NBA and how much success the NBA has had. So I think that on principle, people get that the PGA Tour and professional golf, like any other sport, is entertainment more or as much as it is about the integrity of golf. And the reason that people are working as hard as they are on hospitality tents, on making the waste management as big as they are, on trying to turn the Honda Classic and the Bear Trap into more of a waste management type feel. The reason those things exist is because it's a fucking business, and it's a business that's based on entertainment. And if you are more of a needle mover, which is an annoying cliche that I think we're going to get really sick of soon, and I almost puked when I saw it in like the language for, the PGA Tour and this new bonus pool. But if you are responsible for making the PGA Tour earn more eyeballs, sell more tickets, and have more people tune into television coverage and have people, watch more social clips, you deserve a piece of that pie. I think everybody agrees with that. What they're not going to agree on and what's going to have to get tweaked over the years is the way that they actually determine and break all that down, because it's going to be flawed and it's going to be incredibly stupid and it's going to get laughed at a lot, and we are going to be people that are going to laugh at it for sure.
Right, so they did run a simulation on the 2019 figures just to see who would be in the top 5 or the top 10 given these metrics. Tiger Woods number 1, followed by Rory, then Brooks, then Phil, then Ricky, and then Spieth, DJ, Justin Thomas, Justin Rose, and Adam Scott. So my issue there is seeing the names Adam Scott and Justin Rose in the top 10, they don't feel like necessarily needle movers to me in the way that I thought a program like this would work.
And then on that, is the payment static? So like first place when you win a PGA Tour event is X, or is it like how much you win by? Because like there's a reason that Tiger Woods should collect 95% of this money. Does anybody know in terms of what that payment figure looks like across the board? No?
Wait. What's the question now?
So I was asking, if you're first with regards to, this plot of $40 million of cash and how it gets spread out across the players, is that first place static when you blend all their attributes together? Or is it like, hey, I moved golf by, 8 times more than second place, so my payment is actually even more of that $40 million?
Well, no, it says that first place gets $8 million, so I think that's
static. I think it's static.
I think it's like the FedEx Cup payouts, which honestly makes sense. Like if you win the Masters by 12 shots or 1 shot, you still win the first place prize, So there's but this is different scoring. So that's an interesting question. The metrics officially are listed, and they were in Eamon Lynch's article, who I can't even say his name without kind of giggling because he's such a clown. But the first metric is a player's position on the season-ending FedEx Cup points list, which I think nobody has a problem with. Like that should be part of the equation, is how well you're playing golf out there. The second is their popularity in Google search. Now, I don't know how detailed that is. Like, do they just type somebody's fucking name in and see, like, how, or they click in the analytics, icon and going through? And if they are, how in depth are they going? Do they get to like choose? Like, we don't really know what that means.
Well,
that's an incredibly vague topic.
super vague, especially when they put in the stipulation here where it says, quote, to recognize and reward players who positively move the needle. Now, positively is a very, very important word, especially when it comes to Google searches. And I would argue that they should get rid of that stipulation altogether. Positive, negative, like that. Now if you get rid of positively, now they're just swaying into our area where we're headline guys. I don't care how you make headlines, whether it's good or bad, but if you are bringing more eyeballs to the game of golf, regardless of how, I think you should be rewarded for that.
Excellent point. The positivity clause needs to be eliminated immediately, and I'll have no issues with that because Patrick Reed, I love Patrick Reed for golf because he makes people turn on their television. Like, what's this? This fucking guy's cheating and his wife's berating people on Twitter and he's winning the golf tournament. I got to turn this thing on. You're going to tell me that doesn't count as moving the needle? That should count maybe 2x if it's negative. That's like if you didn't have any bad guys in the WWF. Like, what do you? We're just like all out here. We're rooting for good wrestling. Rooting for good wrestling. Like you can't. That's not what we're doing.
It's like Marvel movies with no Thanos. Like that's pretty boring. You need. This is just how the world works. I'm not rooting for negativity, but negativity is what moves the needle, my friends.
Negativity is what drives me. That's why I live. I thrive off
That's why.
Imagine not having negativity in this world about myself, about the way the world works. That's just what drives me. So I agree. It should be worth double the amount of positive. Positive stuff's like, ugh. Oh, like what?
Riggs brings up a really good point.
Would this guy give this little kid a fucking golf ball? No, I want to see Ian Poulter I want to see him go out there and firing Ferrari people. That is more clickable.
Right. If this player impact program is based on all positive metrics, then I no longer want this to be put onto the PGA Tour.
Right.
Because that is incredibly boring. Riggs brings up a perfect point with Patrick Reed. Most of the things that he does are negative, but they're hilarious and entertaining. And if the PGA Tour is just going to throw that out, then you got to get rid of this whole program.
Yeah, it's a deal breaker for me. The positivity clause is a deal breaker. If you keep that in, I'm out on this whole program. If you take it out, I'm very in on this program because you almost can't have positivity without negativity. Like you have to. It's Harry Potter and like Voldemort.
Yes.
One cannot live without. You got to have them. You just have to have both. So that's got to go. That clause needs to be eliminated. A lot of the stuff that Bryson does is like negative, where he's asking for relief because of ants and shit. Are they going to count that negative? That's an amazingly positive thing. That makes you, again, turn on your TV and you're like, this guy's trying to win a golf tournament. He's got ants crawling up his hand and he's trying to get a relief. This is amazing. I got to turn that on. So you got to.
And no offense to these guys, but guys like Justin Rose and Adam Scott, that's how they get on this list is the positivity clause. Like that is 100% why they're on there. Those are great guys. They're great for the game. They're great golfers, obviously. But I don't think they make that list if you boot the positivity clause.
You don't think so? Like Adam Scott in Australia, that's like that whole population he's probably massive over there.
He wears 2 shades of brown. I don't like he's
right.
Not
that was a bad look,
moving.
and for a handsome fellow, that was a really
right.
bad.
But that's
choice,
what Trent's saying. It's the positivity.
What?
Trent said that's the only reason why they're on there, right? Is because it's all positive
Google search,
stuff.
I would think for Adam Scott is what I'm saying. Like that would be my counterpoint to Trent. Like the only reason is the positivity. I bet you Adam Scott, with regards to like girls Googling golfers, he's got to be at the top of the list for Google searches. Justin Rose, I hear your point.
Maybe, yeah, it is. I would like to see the breakdown of how they got on that list, but I do think if you eliminated the positivity clause, I don't know that they're on that list, and I don't. In our list, right? Like, because our list is without we should just do our own list. We have to do our own list, by the way.
What I was going to say is either A, we're going to do our own list, or B, the PGA Tour needs to give it to us. And because nobody has a better gauge of like what's getting eyeballs in the game of golf than we do, honestly. Like in the way that we want it, in the way that the internet consumes golf, I think we are the best consultants you can find.
Let me tell you right now, we are officially at the beginning of next week, we will publish an updated list from Foreplay of the top 10 in the player impact or the Foreplay player impact program, and we will update that list every single week.
Is there a way that we can come up with our own algorithm?
Yeah.
Do we know smart enough people where we could say these are the things that we want to highlight for these golfers, put it into an algorithm, and it spits out a list?
Here's my thinking. We should have an algorithm that gives us a list, and then we also get to overrule based on our own judgment.
I think it's just called our eyeballs. That's
the
just
eyeball
an eyeball test. You know, I don't need some algorithm to tell me what guy is more likable or moving the needle. We just see it. Just like
right.
they
All right. Let's do a consensus top 5 right now with the foreplay group. Number 1, Tiger Woods.
Tiger.
Yep.
Number 2, Bryson DeChambeau.
No problem.
Boom. Now we get to the third. Now it's tricky because golf, you know, Patrick Reed could be third on our list, in my opinion.
Jordan Spieth.
Okay.
See, I'd have Justin Thomas above Jordan Spieth.
I would say when Jordan Spieth is in the mix, the stuff that you see on social media versus when Justin Thomas is in the mix is wildly more needle moving.
How about Rory?
We're talking about this year. Like
Justin
Thomas has moved quite the needle this year.
Yeah, there's a spike in January.
Positive, negative. He was in the fucking matches. He's Tiger Woods' best pal. Like Jordan Spieth, we had to like bring him out of a bunker at some point. Like, I mean, the guy was gone. He just came shooting a cannon.
But I still think like when he's tied for the lead on Friday afternoon, Twitter goes nuts. When Justin Thomas is tied for the lead on Friday afternoon, I don't think it's that big of a story. Like people were just kind of like, oh yeah, hell yeah, JT's number 2 in the world. He's right up there. You know, we'll see how it goes this weekend. When Spieth, you put out a Spieth tweet on Thursday at 10 a.m. when he's 2 under through 3, it gets thousands of likes. People are going nuts.
I'm Spieth over JT for sure.
I think I'm Rory.
Make your case.
I mean, he's a one-name guy. Like,
True.
all of Europe, I mean, is obsessed with Rory. I would just say, like, without question, it's Rory. As a needle mover and Google searches is really what I'm weighing heavily on.
I like Rory as well because you do get the honest interviews, and that's where you're going to get the most clicks. Like when he actually came clean at the Players and talked about that he actually got involved in the Bryson arms race. Like that's good content, and it's interesting and it's honest, and that's where you're going to get from Rory every time.
I agree. I will say too, Lurch has really benefited from just making not abstract, just kind of vague. Like that guy has the whole continent loves him move. Like he did it with Adam Scott, and you just kind of put the whole continent in his bucket, and you did it with Europe, like with Rory right now. It's just it's tough to argue that. It's like he's just got the whole continent, and that's tough.
The world just doesn't work that way anymore. The world is so much smaller now that I just don't think that it works in that sort of way.
I mean, Trent, we streamed with that Irishman, Apex Hound. He's like a sick fucking PGA Tour 2K21 guy. He hates Rory. He's from Ireland. Hates him.
How? Did he defend that comment?
What was his reasonings?
What was it? It had something to do
with east, south, and the other guy's north. So there's just like a huge.
Right. I don't know. I don't want to get into Irish politics, but it had something to do with Rory's comments during the Olympics.
Okay.
And yeah.
I would think it's safe to say that we could go basically Tiger, Bryson, Spieth, JT, Rory are our top 5, and you could argue no. Ooh, Trent.
I want to put Reed. I want Reed in there somewhere.
But well, that's interesting. Like, do you get the wives? Do the wives count? Because then DJ just volts into the mix with Google searches. Like Paulina's at the top, and then you get P. Reed's wife, who also helps to his image. So, like, is it a family?
Hold on. But are we doing this based on the PGA Tour's metrics, or are we doing this based on our eye test?
This is our
this is our list.
Who deserves the money?
So Google searches and shit just don't matter to me. I don't care. And I don't care about their position in the FedEx Cup point. I couldn't care less about that. Just the eye test. Lurch still makes a point because like the Google search thing is in some way attached to my eye test. Like there's a reason, right? Like if you when DJ won the Masters, we put out a T-shirt with Paulina and DJ on it. Like that's just part of the package deal. And he's got the Wayne Gretzky stories, and he's got the Butch stuff. So yeah, I don't think he necessarily cracks my top 5. But Reed's tough because unless he's doing something really negative, he's not. I haven't heard about Reed in like a month. I feel like
there's still a big part of me that wants to put Reed in front of JT, straight up. Because when that Patrick Reed tidal wave hits, it might not hit very often, but when it does, it is the talk of the town, my friends. Like, there's nobody he might be. No, Bryson and Tiger are obviously like they're unmovable at the top 2. But Patrick Reed, when he is on his bullshit, he's the top 3 guy for me.
Yeah, I would say Reed, like we'd say other people stop, like, or move the needle. I would say Patrick Reed, like, stops the needle in its tracks, and people just stop what they're doing in the golf world, and they attack, and there's an echo chamber of the people that despise what he's doing. They start writing articles. They just zoom in. They go through, the whole, like, JFK assassination treatment where they're going through clip by clip of what he does, and it changes golf for days after that, if not weeks.
Let's talk confidence. Where's a Deki Matsuyama rank for you then, Lurch?
Yeah, no,
he owns Asia
right now. But I mean, like, he's with P. Reed, where, now obviously he's at the top of the mountain. But in 3 weeks' time, or when the next major happens, if he doesn't win it, like, he's back for me, kind of way outside the top 10. And I think that's the same thing with P. Reed, of like, when he makes news and when he, moves around sand in a bunker, he's all of a sudden like the only thing anybody can talk about. Like, he surpasses Tiger for that week or two, right? But then he falls off the map again when it's over.
But if we're talking about when these guys are doing something, there's really not too many guys, maybe, again, in the top two, who are consistently doing something that makes people be like, whoa, what's going on over there? Once you get out of the Tiger Bryson category, I think there's a big drop off. Unless
I think you could do, you're right, and I think you could do one metric, one algorithm, if you will, that would come up with our list, which is just total minutes talked about on our show. Like,
right.
That would just, I think that would just give us the list.
Rory's way up. Rory's way up there. Patrick Reed's probably number 2. Like, it's like Patrick. We've talked about Patrick Reed at length.
Bro, with that metric, Zach Johnson might crack the top 5.
Right.
The Islanders are just like number 3 on the list.
Yeah. Barry Trotz is number 7.
Brock Nelson is number 3 in the player impact program. Brock Nelson, what a goal last night. Nick Leddy to Brock Nelson, tip, top shelf, Minnesota connection. Just a really good hockey player. I know Lurch likes him. He likes his style.
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson breaks the top 10 on our fucking player impact.
If we're talking just guys that like affect our lives on Twitter, social media, guys that are always in the mix, like Max Homa may be the sneaky, just like breadwinner, right? Like he's like number 7, number 6 constantly, just because he's just in the mix, right? I mean, a Max Homa tweet fires off and it does numbers. It does consistently good numbers.
So pause for a second. Guess how many Twitter followers Stuart Sink has?
I'm actually, I think I sort of know because I read an article that had it in it, but
13,000.
No.
So his Instagram is like 10,000. So that's kind of the baseline. But now what's his Twitter? Because obviously with this much money on the table, people are going to, like, you're going to see people do some different stuff. Like Homa's already in the mix, but people are going to start really engaging.
Before you guys guess, I will. The article that I read made it clear that Stuart Sink was early to Twitter. He was an early golf Twitter guy, and I think he even had a quote, like back when he last won the RBC Heritage, was like, or when he last won the tournament, was like, I'm leading in, this week and in Twitter followers. But he had a lot early on, like a lot. So take that into account.
I mean, you've now ruined like the guessing game, right? Like obviously.
No, but I could sense.
Didn't help it.
But I could sense that you guys were doing it because, like, if he just had the amount that we thought he would have, then it wouldn't have been a question.
Right, but give it a guess.
The amount that was prefaced is just like it's like 2 million people.
Right. Riggs?
Okay. 1.5 million.
Yeah, so this ruins it. It's like 984,000, but anyways, that's
Trent
much
gave
more
a 10-minute pre you're like, let me preface this now. Like I probably would have said 8,000 on Twitter.
I mean, right. Yeah,
sorry,
we kind of blew it. We blew it there. That's what are you gonna
Stuart Sink is boring, and his son's boring, so I don't care anything about the Twitter. I mean, it was nice that they won. Son's got a nice head of hair. He doesn't. That's all. I mean, they're not winning any
Those
money.
Tan lines, though. Those tan lines are the realest thing in the world.
They don't get any money out of this metric system.
Dude, I don't know if that's true. I tweeted that picture of Stuart Sink's tan line after he won, and it got 5,000 likes.
Bro, Stuart Sink is not in the top 5 or 10 of eyeball who moves the needle test. Come on now.
I agree. Who does move the needle? Let me show you a little something right here.
Woo! Oars Alps, baby. I'm head to toe Oars Alps. Sunscreen, underarms, facial wash, body wash. It's crazy.
So the SPF products are what we're really trying to focus on right now, and I don't have them in front of me because the SPF products are all in my golf bag. I use them.
I
every
have
time
them.
I
Hold
play
on,
golf.
for the people on YouTube, I'll show you.
Yeah, go grab those. But this is actually a testament to how good their stuff is. It's not sitting around in the packaging in my apartment here. The SPF products, their sunscreen, it's in my golf bag, which is in my car because I don't want to lug it up and down the stairs of my apartment because I use it every single day, especially out here. Frankie, you got the sunscreen, you got the chapstick.
Let me show you all these different types of products we have here, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're going to start off with the Go Stick Clear Sunscreen, 35 SPF, the Broad Spectrum UVA, UVB, water and sweat resistant stick. So this is a stick that I've never really used. And it almost looks like deodorant. And the way it applies, I'm going to apply it right now. It's so nice that you throw it on, then you can rub it in. It's a very good feeling, and it's an ultimate on-your-nose sunscreen. We all get burnt on the nose. We wear hats on the golf course. You forget to throw a little bit on your nose. You don't want to look like an idiot like those, like in those movies where they have just the white sunscreen, and usually they're like a lifeguard and they're nerdy. No, this is clear. It's sweat-resistant. It's water-resistant. Then we go over to this Hydrating Antioxidant Sunscreen Spray. This is the real good shit right here. It's a spray. We all love the spray. You spray it on your arms. You give it a nice little rub in. It's got vitamin C. It's 50 SPF. Oars Alps. And let me take a step back here and let you guys know that this is all natural shit. That's the biggest thing. When we're talking about deodorant, we're talking about body wash. Let's not forget that we're putting chemicals in our body and on our body with these regular big deodorant brands. You know, the deodorant brands that just try and shove it down your throat with these commercials.
And the sunscreen from those brands. It's like
right. So
that's
what I'm trying to say.
Scary.
Is like when you take that chemical base that's going under your arms, what do you think these other companies are putting into their sunscreen to legitimately protect you from the sun, which is a fiery ball of gas that one day is going to encapsulate all of humanity as we know it? Is it encapsulate?
Sure, we know what you mean.
Yeah. No, you're on the tear.
It's going to encompass everything that is. No, it is going to engulf.
There we go.
Going to engulf upon our world as we know it. The pyramids, the internet, the office.
What do you think about the pyramids? What do you think?
Everything that we fucking invented will be gone because of the sun. And you know who's protecting us from it? Oars Alps. How in the world have they figured out how to do a natural, healthy, clean, safe way to protect yourself from those rays of sun? You know how far the fucking sun is? Someone tell me how far the sun is.
I want to say it's like 8 million miles or something.
8 million
you know what
miles?
I was going to say? I think it takes maybe 8 minutes from the sunlight to reach Earth. So I don't know that 8 million. Maybe that's where I was getting that from. How far is the sun from Earth?
All right, I got the number. You guys can guess.
I remember saying
3 million
Jake
miles.
just gave it away. Thanks, Jake.
What did he say? 3 million miles.
No.
I remember in grade school, I remember hearing like 100 million miles, but Jake just said it. So 93.428 million miles.
100 million miles away is this big thing of just blah, 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 just fucking sun, and we legitimately get burnt. Our little skin get burnt from this fucking gas ball in the sky 900 million miles away. So we have all these things to combat that, and they're free. They're oil free, which is huge. You're not going to break out and all that stuff. That's a big thing for me. Like, these oil free sunscreens are huge. I used to go to like CVS and just go up and down the fucking aisles to try and find oil free sunscreen. Now I have them in my room. Oars Alps, thank you very much.
Right now, Foreplay listeners can receive a free pack of cooling and cleansing wipes, also great to keep you fresh on the course when you buy any 2 SPF products as were just listed by Frankie. All you need to do is visit oarsanalps.com/4 and follow the instructions. Please make sure, folks, that you use oarsanalps.com/4. You get 2 SPF products, any other SPF products. You will get a free pack of cooling and cleansing wipes. The sun rays take 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth from the sun, and when they do, they absolutely can devastate your skin. And a lot of the stuff out there that you may try to use to protect your skin is bad for your skin, actually. Not Oars Alps, all natural.
How about this one right here? The Oars Alps Everyday Anti-Aging Face Moisturizer. It's got 37 SPF. Imagine Oars Alps is legitimately reversing the aging process. They're doing things that can't be done, and they're figuring it out. I love this stuff. You throw it on to moisturize your face. It's a 2 birds with 1 stone type of thing. You know, two bottles with 1 bullet. You're moisturizing your face.
We're just
also.
Yeah, I think
we're just letting Frankie just try to figure out two birds with one stone.
The third metric in the
yeah.
system that they are going to use for the bonus pool system, their Nielsen brand exposure rating, which places a value on the exposure a player delivers to sponsors through the minutes they are featured on broadcasts. This one's going to be a problem. People already bitch about coverage nonstop. People bitch about the fact that when you turn on TV, there's really only a few people that you get to watch. You can't watch, Kisner, we could never watch. Max Homa, we could never watch, which we all complain about. Pat Perez, because those are our guys. We want to watch them play golf. We want to watch them shot for shot. Unless they're on the feature group coverage or they're leading the golf tournament, they almost never get shown on TV. So really that's sort of at the discretion of people that are controlling the broadcast more so than it is the player. Yeah, there's an element of like if the broadcast chooses to cut to you, then they're deciding that you're a needle mover. But that's not foolproof, and that's not going to satisfy a lot of people that don't get television time. So it's a little bit of, it's a little bit of a tough one. And like Lurch said, Nielsen, exposure, brand, all that, pretty fucking outdated.
You know what makes Bryson a needle mover is that he doesn't like camera time. He gets mad when there's too many cameras around him. He wishes he got less camera time on the golf course, and that is a sign of a needle mover. If he's like, no, I actually don't want you to be on me as much because I know I'm going to do something crazy and people are going to get mad at me, that's how you know you're a needle mover. And like you're saying, Riggs, I'm sure there will be players who will complain like, I don't get shown on TV. They pick it, it's very subjective. But if you want to know a real needle mover like Bryson, he's the guy who wants less camera time. And that's how you know.
Yeah, he is. And when he's asking a cameraman to not point the camera at him and film and record him, like that makes him get action on social. It makes him get, the cameraman like zooms in on his face when that's happening, and it's all, going to give him more TV time, which, again, it'll be interesting and tough for them to kind of accurately track or hold a lot of integrity in tracking that because people can just complain that it's not the same. Number 4 is their Q rating, a player's Q rating, which measures the familiarity and appeal of a player's brand. I think that's just the eyeball test, right?
Yeah. These next ones are just sort of like whoa, like this is just jargon that they're like put in that they came up with in some like corporate room, and we're like, let's do the Q rating, let's do the MVP index, and when it's all really just the eyeball test.
Right, because that just adds complexity, which they can like defend. Like, no, this is how we thought about it. This is like the algorithm behind this obscure statement of Q ratings, of Nielsen ratings, and then they're just going to pay the guys that they think. So. I think that just defends them.
We thought Ricky Fowler might switch it up and go for a new brand. That guy is going to be a full-blown orange popsicle for the rest of his life. I mean, you want to talk about brand recognizability or whatever they're going to be saying with the Q rating? No chance is Ricky Fowler switching it up. He's slicking the hair back. He's putting a little wax on the mustache, and he is 100% rocking orange and the white Puma hat because that's just who he is, and he's trying to get that bread.
The number 5 in the metrics is their MVP index rating, which calibrates the value of the engagement a player drives across social and digital channels. So again, that's one I think we've pretty much already covered. People can I think that's actually pretty trackable. And then the 6th one is their meltwater mentions, which this is being made fun of the most, or the frequency with which a player generates coverage across a range of media platforms, which a range of media platforms. It says the tour will employ an algorithm to turn the values from each metric into impact scores for every player, and a ranking of those scores then determines the bonus amount due. I do think that all of this allows for a bit of discretion on their part, which I'm not opposed to. I get it. It's just that it's going to be the tour implementing that discretion, which I think people aren't crazy about. So again, overall, I think that we're pretty much for this. I think this makes a lot of sense. One stat that I saw come across my radar was that Francisco Lindor, who just signed, a $341 million contract. He's literally just signed a contract to get paid 3x what Tiger Woods' career earnings are. So it's like it makes sense if you look at Tiger Woods and what the PGA Tour, what he's actually made on the course is 120, almost 121 million versus 341 million. It does seem like he deserves way, way, way more than that. And, people argue, oh, he's made a lot from his sponsors. Well, guess what? That's not like on-course earnings. That's not from the PGA Tour. That's not from your organization that actually pays you. That's from you and your agency and you building your brand elsewhere and going to external parties and external companies and organizations and figuring out a way to partner that's not coming from the place that you've benefited the most and that you actually do your work in and your workplace, which is clearly the argument. But the way it's going to get rolled out, we are going to laugh at it a lot, and I think it's going to be fun, to be honest with you.
Do you think, one question I asked in the beginning about why don't you just pay every player that's made a PGA Tour start?
Well, what is that? Because, you pay them all the same, you're saying?
No, I'm saying, but you allot, $2 million of the $40 million to people outside the top 10. I mean, because most of the risk of the grinders that are trying to make it on the tour that pay in, tournament fees, et cetera, don't make the cut, lose a ton of money. So, in my theory, power to them for putting themselves out there to make an effort to try to make it on the PGA Tour. Take some of this money, like a small allotment, and pay it to those individuals that are trying to make it on the PGA Tour as a small bump or a kickback to basically their season-long effort of trying to make it on tour. So anyways, I would think that could be helpful, and it also would garner support from them to push things on social. May it be small, but still something, or to do anything to promote the game of golf, because they are still stack ranking up in that last 2 million, where maybe, the back end of the tour still is going to get a check for, I don't know, $20K, which can be impactful for those guys that are barely making it.
I hate it.
Really?
Yeah, you got to win. It's a sport, right?
Fair. It just offers some guaranteed money across the board that other sports have on the professional level.
Yeah, but we had a couple people reach out to us at the Pat Perez thing, being like, I mean, you don't have to win golf to make money. Guys make, Pat Perez has won 3 times his career. He's made a shit ton of fucking money.
But he's one of a couple hundred players really that are able to make some money. And there's, I think the difference was that when you're not one of those couple hundred people, you're actually losing money. Whereas if you're in the top, most sports, if you're 500th best player in the NHL over the last 10 years or something, you've made millions of dollars.
Right. Exactly. And so, yeah, my thought would just be to spread a little of the money around rather than just keep giving it to the top guys, which are already outrageously wealthy and have lifetimes of money. And so
the top guys will leave to a premier golf league. You have to keep them going. I mean, we've gotten to a point in sports where the top dogs make an unreasonable amount of money, and that's just the world we live in. And you cannot change that and give guys on the lower tier more of their money, or else they're just gonna do what the soccer league was trying to do in this premier. You're gonna get these Saudi princes throwing $200 million at them a season, because that's just what they're seeing in other sports. Like you just said, Francisco Lindor makes $340 million to play shortstop for the New York Mets, a team that just stinks. It's unbelievable what the top level guys on these other leagues make.
Yeah,
Agreed.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
We're just talking about guaranteed money and how we can reward some of the guys struggling with a little bit of extra cash at the end of the season.
But I think that's a completely separate. That's a separate issue in a pool, right? This is how big is your impact on golf and driving interest to golf? Those guys, I would argue, is zero. It's literally as close to zero as it could possibly be.
That was my point about win. That was my point about win. It's win and get a big brand, and then you can make money in this little extra pool. I'm not talking about their actual jobs. We're talking an extra pool of money, an extra $40 million. We cannot spread that amongst people that have no brands. That's insane.
Well, no, but what about a Smiley Kaufman or a Stuart Sink that he could do something fun with his 984,000 Twitter followers to promote it. And so making this pool instead of 40 to 50 million, because I'm sure they could carve that out, having $10 million that's kicked back to smaller names, smaller people that are, yes, competing on tour, yes, doing everything, but bringing people into their golf world, their training. I follow Bo Hostler, right? He's a Visor guy. And he does some things about his wedge play and things like that. That's kind of interesting. So I think a pool like this could help basically put the ask out there to promote golf, right? Because they are all, exceptional golfers, and they all have a small following. So, that would be the ask. But I
hope there's one guy that really takes this program to heart and just becomes he tries to become a needle mover. And I don't think there's going to be many. There might be one, there might be none who like really look at this and say, hey, maybe I'm not going to win every week or get a top 10 or a top 20 every week, but if I grow my social following and I make an impact in different ways, I can get some of this money. I just hope there's at least one guy who kind of flies off the handle and goes crazy and does this. I don't know who it's going to be, but I hope one guy does it. Because do you think this is going to motivate guys to operate differently?
I think they'll be more willing to do stuff like these shows. Like, I think our industry is actually going to benefit from this the most.
Yeah.
Hey, you want eyeballs? You want to get your Nielsen rating up? Come on Fore Play Podcast and come play a one club challenge against us or a 4-man scramble. You know what I mean? Like they may never have had like a reason to do it, and now it's like, oh well, I can make $6 million this year if I become the most liked guy on tour.
True.
Yeah, in the Steve Elkington little weird debate that we had, this is actually the answer. Is like, why have the Kisners and the Max Homas and all these guys always agreed to come on without us ever paying anybody ever? And it's because it elevates their player impact program score. Like, that's, even though that didn't exist prior, that's the reason they do that. Now, a lot of people just with their own eyeball tests on how the world and society works could make those calculations on their own, right? Of like, oh, Kiz's brand has elevated because he's worked with groups like us, and he's elevated and showcased his personality and his humor, and therefore people love him. And when he goes to tournaments, more people recognize him, and therefore sponsors are more willing to work with him because they're going to get more brand exposure. So Kisner, through all of that, makes more money. Like, most people can make all of those kind of like get to those conclusions on their own, but the Player Impact Program, makes it much more real, and throwing $40 million at it, makes it much more real. And, I think that this is also the tour telling people, like, dude, grow your fucking brands. Like, it's going to benefit you to grow your brand. And even if you finish 11th and you get no direct money from the tour, you will benefit from, going up in all of these categories over here. Like, the higher you go in those categories, you can then take those same numbers and stats basically to, any potential advertiser that's either they're going to put themselves on your hat or put themselves on your bag or whatever. This is the argument that you make when you go to a company and try to get that money from them. So I think it's going to make people more aware. Yeah, I don't think everybody's going to embrace it. Like, I don't know that we're going to see like Patrick Cantlay now all of a sudden is an electric factory on like social media. I think you kind of are who you are. We are who we thought they were, kind of thing. But some people, yeah, I mean, you've already seen it with people tweeting more from the team thing. It's like trying to put their little spin on it. So, I'm sure a lot of it will be corny and cheesy and fucking stupid. But people will be more conscious of it, I think.
I like that we spun that into a positive for us. Come on our show. Do videos with us. That's the quickest way you can do it. If you want to get involved with this program, come on our show.
Right.
It's thundering like a motherfucker at my house right now. Is it thundering in New York City?
No, but it is raining pretty hard.
Holy smokes. Real thunder.
Getting some of that in Jersey. It just passed through.
It's like April, about to be summer. Like, it's springtime. And when these nasty fucking thunderstorms start coming in, like, you don't see a thunderstorm in fucking November.
You know what you're going to like in the summertime, boys?
Let me see it.
Ooh.
Little Peter Millar performance polos.
Oh, my God. I'm wearing Peter Millar right now. I don't even feel like I'm wearing clothes. They're so comfortable.
I'm very happy that you're wearing clothes, and I'm happy that you're choosing to wear Peter Millar performance polos, because this lightweight, stretchy fabric that they got,
so good.
that is the good stuff. They also got the SPF like 50 plus in their shirt, so it keeps you protected all day. PeterMillar.com/4 is going to get you a complimentary gift. It's going to get you complimentary shipping, and it's really kind of crazy to choose any other polo, any other pullovers, any other pants to wear out on the golf course or out around the town or out to dinner or to a work meeting, because Peter Millar, I mean, it's handcrafted. They take such good care, and they pay such attention to everything that they whip up. Every time we open a Peter Millar box package, you pull it out, and you're just like, oh my. You actually just send pictures to each other on our text chain of like, did you see this new Peter Millar thing that we just got? So big thanks to them for how careful they are and meticulous they are about their product and about their apparel. And again, please do yourself a favor. Go to petermillar.com/4, receive free shipping, receive a complimentary gift. You can get their performance polo in a classic fit or tailored fit. Both offer 4-way stretch, moisture wicking, odor control, quick dry, and easy care qualities. And they've got the UPF 50 plus sun protection, so you can wear that puppy all day long 18 holes, 36 holes. Maybe you're hanging out afterwards on the patio. It's going to protect you. So big thanks to Peter Millar.
Awesome.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We are.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
It's all right.
Yeah, no worries. We're just recording for the last couple hours anyway, so we have this blocked off each time.
He's in the lab. How we doing?
He is in the lab.
Yeah, this is my standard background for work. So.
Love it.
No, that's understandable. So I imagine have you had kind of a couple big weeks and with Zalatoris?
Yeah. Yeah. What is it now? We're in week and a half, right? It was last week.
Yep.
I lose track of time so easily.
It's
no, go ahead.
I'm not gonna talk.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna disconnect from my Wi-Fi because Zoom sometimes lags on my Wi-Fi, and it's really
I think there was a lag in the Zoom there.
That was tremendous.
So yeah, big couple of weeks. People started really reaching out, as the Masters was coming to a close. And then kind of, I guess, a few more inquiries after Stony Brook put out that video. Kudos to them. They found me all on their own. I didn't go looking for them. The media team at Stony Brook reached out and was like, how far do you want to take this? What do you want to do?
So talk us through, obviously, we're probably going to preface it when we bring you into here, but you were the original caddy in Happy Gilmore for Adam Sandler. You are the person that is being, when we see Zalatoris, we say he is Happy's caddy. Talk us through that process. Like, how did you fall into that role? And I know you were a little bit of a child actor. Is that the term for what you were?
Yeah. So I was acting professionally. I got an agent at first when I was 12, but I booked my first role when I was 13. And then I was booking, at least a day or two, pretty much every year. I think actually every year, till I was maybe 23.
Wow.
So it was, I had, about a decade career as a child actor. Happy Gilmore was my first big role, obviously. I did a couple feature films later, but Happy Gilmore still remains the one that that people know and potentially call me out for. My agent sent me to an audition. I mean, the sort of funny backstory to that was that I had been wanting to dye my hair a crazy color, like green or red or blue. And my mom was just putting so much pressure on me not to do it. She's like, if you do this, you will never book any more acting gigs. Like this will, you can forget about it. It's just, this is a terrible idea. And I held out for a while not doing anything with my hair. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to bleach it. And it won't be like an insane color, but it'll be bleached, and at least it's something. And I did it, and my mom said it was the worst decision I'd ever made. It turns out she was wrong, because it was only about 2 or 3 weeks later I went in for the Happy Gilmore audition, and when they called me back, I noticed that everyone at that first callback, every actor at the first callback for that role, had bleached hair. So it was definitely something they were looking for. And then at that second audition, the first callback, they asked me to come back in 2 or 3 hours, and I kind of had to wander around. I'm pretty sure it was at Lionsgate Studios, which is nowhere near where I live. I didn't have a car. Obviously, I wasn't old enough to drive, and so I kind of just wandered around the these big industrial streets with nothing to do for a couple of hours. Came back, and Adam was there, and we had a lot of fun kind of getting a little bit physical in the audition room. He started tossing me around, and I guess he thought that was pretty fun, so they gave me the role. Yeah. And they told my agent, tell him not to cut his hair. We're not shooting for 2 more months, but don't let him cut his hair. So they definitely made it as big as they could get it. And And then it was a lot of hairspray.
I mean, because we're a golf podcast, right? So and Happy Gilmore is like as iconic as it gets, and I think your character in that too is one that anyone could say at any moment to almost anyone in the country, like, "Oh, Happy Gilmore's Caddie," and everybody would know and could picture that person. Like so you had such a distinct look going on, so it's like you're. Like immediately. So then when Zalatoris popped up, everyone is just like, "Oh, that's
everyone knew
Caddie.
it." Yeah. Yeah. No, that's he, and it's amazing that another man looks more like me at 14 than I do.
Right. I was gonna say like Zalatoris looks what you're supposed to look like right now. Like you know what I mean?
Right.
Like he looks more like you than you do, which is stunning to me.
Yeah, my proposal for him is that if he grows some facial hair and dyes all of his hair brown, I will bleach my hair and shave.
That's a good trade-off. I like
that.
Yeah.
So for like a gig like that, how many days of filming is it actually, and like what was it like? I mean, especially you're so young at the time. Adam Sandler, I mean, he was even a pretty big fucking star then. So it's just, what's that whole thing like?
Yeah. So I think I had 3 days of shooting, and I think I was on set 4 days. The first day they called me in, they didn't end up using me. So yeah, it all happens pretty quick. I mean, it's funny. It's simultaneously like faster and slower than you would think. Like 3 days of work is not a lot, but then when you think that for the cruise, those are 12-ish hour days. Typically, my days were 8 to 10. Like 24, 30 hours of work to get, maybe 6 to 8 minutes on screen. It is still a fair bit. So yeah, it was about 3 days of shooting spread across a couple of weeks. I got to know, most of the cast pretty well and some of the producers. It was a really fun set. There was a great energy on that set. Everyone was having a lot of fun. And I think that, helps the movie be successful because you feel that kind of energy when you watch it.
Was it difficult to ever not laugh? I mean, we've had Brian Baumgartner on here, from The Office, and even he's been like, "Oh yeah, we had to we would just start laughing out loud a lot of the times." Was it ever difficult?
Yeah, you lose some takes that way. It's been 25 years now, so I honestly could not tell you, what exactly was going on, but there was some film sets, and this is definitely one of them, get into like recurring pranks on set. So I'm pretty sure it was Happy Gilmore. It might have been a different show, but there was like, if I remember, like people were running around with these big, like they're almost like alligator clips, but they're like big size for holding like, holding a tarp down or holding cables down, these big clamps, and they would sneak up behind people and clip them on their clothes from behind and run away. And like on my last day of filming, I ended up with a Carl Weathers sized handprint in red right on my stomach, because Carl and I got into sneaking up on each other from behind and smacking each other as hard as we could, which if you look at Carl and you look at me is maybe I had the disadvantage there, but I did get the last hit in after I wrapped. I wrapped. I was told to go home, but I went in for one more on Carl to get the last word in. But it was just like we're just goofing around. It was a lot of fun.
How much?
Yeah, I hit.
Just go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I hit him right out in the open on the golf course. I snuck out, like I probably had to go like 200 feet to get up from behind him. I got him, and then I took off, and I ran through a pack of extras who were the fans at the golf match, and they parted to let me through, and then closed ranks to stop Carl, who was chasing me, and that was it. I was out.
How much golf was actually? Like how many times did Adam actually hit a golf ball during those takes?
Oh
right?
God.
Like physically hitting like balls, or is it a lot of it like faking and like angles and stuff like that?
Yeah, so right. Okay, so he was definitely hitting some balls, but there was some faking as well. I mean, often you just need the big swing, and then they can put the ball in after, I mean, he didn't actually hit a 500 yard
Right,
hole in
right,
one, or
right.
whatever that was.
Frankie, is that what you're asking? Is that the question Frankie's asking? Was that a real shot?
I'm talking like, do we need to refilm and retake every time he doesn't make like perfect contact on the center of the club face or something, right? To
Yeah.
make it like are they that into it where it's like, all right, like that one like went off the toe and let's redo it.
Movies aren't real.
They probably had to hit the golf balls for the putting. I wasn't there for a lot of those shots, but I think the drives there might not have even been a ball, when you're looking at Adam.
It's like we've actually
Santa Claus isn't real.
we do. I mean, we do dumb little shoots too, and even we've had some like somebody needs to make a putt. Like I just can't make the putt. Like I don't know what to tell you right now, but I can't putt this ball into the hole right now for your shot, and it's very frustrating.
Are you able to go back and like watch that movie, like or like? Because it's just you said it's been 25 years, right? Like, do you find it like weird to watch yourself in that role? Like,
it's a little weird. I mean, I can watch it. I've shown my kids; they get a good kick out of it. You show them when you're young enough, it's pretty funny because they don't believe what's going on. At first, they're just like, "Whatever, that's not you." And then a little later, they're like, "Oh wait, that's crazy," and then they tell all their friends. But yeah, I mean, I must have seen Happy Gilmore 10 times in the first couple of years, 3 to 5 years afterwards. And then honestly, I don't know if I've seen it again. You watch a movie that much and you're sort of fine.
Talk
to us a little bit
about.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, no, you can go because I was going to take it to after Happy Gilmore.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. I was like, when you're in that type of role, obviously that movie was instant success. Like, did you think you had kind of made it? Were you looking for, like, how long did you kind of look for other roles after that before obviously now being a successful doctor?
This is why we don't let him talk that much.
Frankie's upset.
You're cutting out, Lurch.
Oh, I am. Oh, just skip me then. I just got a connection is unstable.
Well, I think I got most of your questions. So yeah, I mean, it was obviously a big success for me at the time. I knew, I hadn't quite like made it yet, but it did allow me to, start auditioning for bigger roles, and it was, by the time the movie came out, within a year or two after that, like I very nearly landed a lead on Freaks and Geeks. I very nearly landed a lead on a movie that ultimately didn't end up doing so well, but it was supposed to be a theatrical release called Cheaters. They ended up changing the name to Cheats because it was too close to something else, and then it went straight to video because of a story that is too impolite to repeat about the director and the producer getting in a fight. At least that's what I was told after the fact. But that movie ended up being straight to video, but I very nearly had a lead on that. And there were a couple other things I'm trying to remember. I auditioned for a small role in the original X-Men movie, in that era. So there was a number of things, like I just sort of narrowly missed a number of things that really probably could have catapulted my career much further, and maybe would have changed it. If I'd had real large scale success before about 2003, 2004, I would probably still be acting today.
Right, and so you're not acting today. You're actually a psychiatric doctor at Stony Brook, which to me is like couldn't be more polar opposite from being the Caddie in Happy Gilmore. Talk to us a little bit about how you went from like A to B there. That's just such a stunning turnaround in life.
Right. So just a slight correction. I am not a medical doctor. I'm a psychologist by training, but it's confusing because I am faculty in a medical school in a psychiatry department, which is more common than you would think. I don't see patients there. My role is to do research. So I run a small brain imaging laboratory where we study both human cognition, but with a major focus on patients with psychotic disorders, which is predominantly schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. So we're really trying to understand how the brains of patients with schizophrenia process information differently than people who do not have that psychiatric illness, because there are a number of reasons to believe that if we could understand that, then maybe we could intervene and help them have better cognition and sort of better cognitive ability, which would help them, be able to be in the community instead of in the hospital, hold down jobs, so on and so forth.
Golf is back, ladies and gentlemen. It's obviously springtime. It's nicer weather around pretty much the whole country. Not every day, but for the most part. And generally, people are out playing golf more. Our friends at Pin Golf just sent me their newest rangefinder, the Ace. I got to say, it's awesome. It's so good, once again, that this thing, when I open this really cool box, and I'm showing these guys right now, it comes in this awesome box. It's so good that it's not in here because this thing, when it came, goes straight in my golf bag, and my golf bag is down in my car.
You want to know how good that thing is? When I first used it was when, and Lurch has one too, Frankie shot a 76. We used that thing all day long, and Frankie shot a 76.
I almost want to rename it like the Frankie and Trent Great Golf Experience Rangefinder. Like, I mean, we had such a good time with this thing. It knows exactly where the pin is immediately. It is affordable. It's lightweight. It's called the Ace. It's fucking awesome. Everything about this rangefinder I enjoy. It comes in a nice, durable case that has this little rope thing that you see that thing, Lurch? Look at that thing. Oh my god.
I love that little rope thing.
It's so classy. I don't know, what is that like? What is that from? I've done that on other things before, where you put like a little piece of, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I've done that before.
It's almost like a really nice box with like a gift inside of it has something like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The packaging is phenomenal. You can tell that a lot of work and money went into the packaging, which I take a lot of, I respect that a lot. And all I need out of a fucking rangefinder is to just tell me what the yardage is. And they have perfected that. That's all we need.
This puppy has slope. It has a USB charge, so you don't have to worry about being out of batteries. HD LCD screen. It's water resistant. 1-click reading. It's true. It pops up right away. 2-year warranty. Pinned lock vibration tech. You love when you get that little vibration when it hits it. And on top of all of that, they took their rangefinders to a whole new level. This is the Ace. It's normally $299, but they're running an insane sale where you save $100 and can get it for $199. That's less than $200. You go to pingolf.com and get yours today. They somehow found a way to make this thing even more accurate because they've added third lens. Okay, they got a third lens on there. You don't need to know about the technology. I'm just telling you that it exists and that it's way, way better because it somehow became even more accurate than it already was, and it already was really accurate. So you go to pinnedgolf.com, pinnedgolf.com. Get yours today before the sale ends. You can get this puppy for $199. It's called the Ace. It's Pinned Golf, and it's awesome.
Now, I read a tweet the other day. This is a tweet, so I don't know if it's true, but they said that the most complex thing that we know as humans is the human brain. Is there some truth to that, where it's like it's something that we can physically see and it's the most complex thing that we know?
Yeah, I think of there being really sort of 3 frontiers that are the most unexplored and most difficult to explore, and those are space, the depths of our oceans, and the human brain. Each human brain has more neurons in it, more cells in it than there are stars in the galaxy. It's a phenomenal number.
Just stop right
Welcome
now,
to the
Jared.
show.
What the fuck? Just what are you talking about, man? Like, I mean that's an infinite amount of number, right? So that's infinite, right? So like,
well, I don't remember the number off the top of my head. We could look it up real quick here, but it's not infinite, but it's a very large number. And then the number of connections between them, right, is exponentially higher.
100 billion.
Yeah,
100 billion neurons.
There you go.
Wow.
It's a very large number.
I'm curious. So, you and the work you guys are doing clearly is amazing. Like, to commit yourself, your career, your time to trying to help people. How much of that, I don't know if it's a percentage breakdown, if you just talk about it, but are you scanning like visual, images of what's going on in the brain, versus different people? Or is it, even cognitively for you guys, like having them answer questions? Like, how do you break that down in terms of researching it?
So we actually do those 2 things simultaneously in a way. We give them like a memory task usually, although there are other tasks we might use. that they perform while they're in the scanner. And then we're getting images of the brain every 2 seconds where changes in the image show us which regions are becoming more active or less active. So, we can say, okay, right now you're doing nothing. And then when we give you, the letters X, B, and F, and now you got to remember that for 10 seconds. And then I ask you, was B one of the letters I gave you? During that delay, we look at which parts of the brain become active during the delay to help you remember that information.
Wow.
That is fascinating. So are you, I imagine that a lot of these, with the different sort of studies, experiments, you go in with a hypothesis of like what's going to happen. Is there one big like holy shit moment where it went to different, like way differently than you expected? The results were way differently than you expected?
I mean, that happens all the time. Especially when you study human beings, they never quite do, what you expect them to or wish they would do.
Right.
So yeah, it's a mixed bag of like, yes, that's exactly what I thought. It worked, and that's really an amazing feeling when that happens. And then other times you're like, what is this? Okay.
That's amazing.
A term in golf, especially with me, right? Like everyone says, I can hit the golf ball perfectly from 150 yards away to off the tee. I'm perfect, but when I get a wedge in my hand, I become a mental disaster, right? And everyone says it's in your head, it's in your brain. You can't get that mental block out of your head. Is that something that like you could go into to explain to us a little bit more? Like, what does that even mean? Like a mental block, being a mental midget or whatever people call you. Like for me, I'm always like, what does that even mean? I know how to play. Why does it change?
Yeah, so I think what's happening there is people talk about a muscle memory, right? Yeah. And that memory is in your brain, it's not in your muscles, but the term makes sense because it's sort of a non-conscious system for performing motor behaviors. So you've played enough golf at this point, that your body knows how to do it. But we also have this intentional motor system that allows me to say, oh wait, no, I need to, like, I can't just let my body sort of run on autopilot without thinking about it. I need to do this specific thing. I need to reach and grab my keys. I need to, you have this intentional system that can kind of come in and interfere with that muscle memory system. And those are, we know a fair bit of the brain circuitry for both of those. And so, yeah, I think, what people mean by that is it's like you're letting that conscious system come in and try to do the thing rather than letting that muscle memory system that already knows how to do it just do its thing on its own, without interfering.
See, like that's amazing. That's fascinating to me because I think about this occasionally where if I just walk and I'm thinking about something else, right? I just walk normally and you could walk forever, you don't even notice it. Whereas if I think about walking, I can't walk. I can't, I probably look ridiculous. It's like, look at that guy trying to walk. He can't do it. Like, what is he doing? And I'm like, that to me is so fascinating.
Yeah. It's like the roadside, drunk test, walk in a straight line. You have to think about it and you can't look at your feet. It's real hard if you've had a few drinks.
Totally. So, so then I would think, right, like I can clearly just walk and I walk normally. I can like turn left and I don't even, my brain doesn't even think about it. I don't need to activate my brain. So I'm wondering, like, would the actual imagery and scanning of my brain when I take a golf swing and I try to take a golf swing versus when I'm just walking, would that look like all kinds of crazy different activity if you put it on a scanner?
Yeah, there would be different systems that are associated with intentional motor plans, whereas the sort of automatic motor plans tend to run in the cerebellum and striatum. There's like a whole separate lower level sort of system that runs things automatically when you're not really paying attention, and then when you try to bring top down control into it, then we would see a different sort of prefrontal cortex system.
So how do I get a good golf swing back there? Like, just put it in that fucking spot,
great question.
man. Like,
Practice.
Just do that.
Practice. This is why when in golf or any other sport or really any motor activity, you have to have the right form, and you have to start with the right form, because if you learn with the wrong form, then that automatic system will have the wrong form.
Yep.
Right. So you've got to kind of train it the correct way, and then you can sort of do it semi-automatically.
So is that a little bit where like the 10,000 hours thing comes from, to be able to like perfect something or be like an elite, performer at something comes from?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe there's a relationship there. I haven't, thought about that specifically. And I'm sure there's other aspects of expertise, beyond just sort of implicit learning.
I think basically what Riggs is asking is, nobody in this room was taught with the right mechanics. So how do we fix that? Is there 10,000 hours? Is it, what do we do? Is it Men in Black pen?
Yeah.
How do we
Retrain
get
it
to a core where
We've tried everything, man. We got swing coaches. Now we got a psychiatric doctor.
We're doing everything we can.
What can we do?
There's some, and real quick, I know we probably got to get you out of here because you've been here for longer than we had you, but I always wondered, like, does someone like Tiger Woods' brain look different than mine, or does someone that's able to an actor that's able to remember all their lines and where they're supposed to be, does that person's brain physically look different than mine, who's just a normal, can't remember anything, can barely get sentences together type of person?
he gave the quickest nod of all time?
I would say yes, probably, almost definitely. So I don't know about studies of Tiger Woods specifically, but when you look at the studies of expertise, so for example, professional guitar players have a larger representation for their fingering hand in the brain. There's more brain cortex, more real estate in the brain is taken up representing that hand. And you see that, there's another famous study of London taxi drivers who, the London street map is an insane thing. And there's a test that they all have to take in order to be to be licensed as a taxi driver. And they have larger hippocampuses, which is a region associated with spatial memory. It's like, yes, the brain changes with experience.
Okay, that's the question I was going to ask. They're not born with that. That's something that is developed, correct? Because that would be crazy luck to have a part of your... Okay. Think about the serendipity, I happen to have this part of my brain that's bigger about spatial encompassing of the world or whatever.
I'm actually more inclined to believe that that's how you're born, because then if you want to be a London taxi driver, it's sort of, you are filtered there. If you don't have that, then you don't get that job.
Something. Right, you gravitate towards something that you're naturally inclined to be.
Right.
This is what he does. Dude, look at him. He's now you're talking, boy.
Now you're having a scientific debate, and it's absolutely true that because we can't take 100 kids and say,
right,
you guys are going to become a taxi driver and you guys aren't, and then we'll know. It does always, maybe they became taxi drivers because they already had the capacity to do it. Maybe their brain changed because they trained so hard.
It's the chicken or the egg.
Wow.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Wow, Dr. Van Snellenberg, you have really, really just tossed this thing into, a tizzy, because we are going to be talking about this for years to come.
For ages, my
years
friend.
To come.
Ages, we're going to debate this.
Started talking off Happy Gilmore and dyeing your hair blonde, and now I'm legitimately walking down the street in the rain trying to figure out what my brain was supposed to lead me to in this life.
And I'm walking down trying to remember how I walk. We're all over the place.
Oh, wow.
Well,
we appreciate the time,
Dr. Snellenberg. We appreciate it. It's a fascinating thing to be able to talk about, the Caddie and Happy Gilmore, and then go into a little scientific debate about the brain. So we appreciate the time. We know you're a busy person. Keep up the awesome work, and we really do appreciate the time.
All right, thanks, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. After a long day on the golf course, the last thing you're thinking about is a cooked, healthy meal, cooking a healthy meal. That's the last thing you're going to think about. What do? You get some takeout. Maybe you go through the drive-thru. Maybe you kind of sit down, where somebody else cooks you some garbage food and you scoff it down. It doesn't make you feel great. Well, you need to check out Trifecta Nutrition instead. These are created by chefs and nutritionists to help people get into the best shape of their lives. We have been enjoying these now for several weeks, and I'm telling you, it's rare for me to find something that will make me actually want to cook. I mean, how many years did I live with you as your roommate, Lurch, and have you ever seen me cook in my life?
No, it was limited. I mean, I would cook probably once a week. I would say you never cooked. Never. It was a few meals, but it certainly wasn't cooking.
Well, Trifecta makes eating healthy not suck. All Trifecta's meals are backed by nutrition, science. They taste great, making it easy to get into the best shape of your life. You can shop meal plans and get 40% off with the code Fore. You don't have to suffer to eat healthy. A lot of people think about that. It's like, eating healthy. No, their stuff's delicious. They make very good meals.
Yep.
They're incredibly, incredibly easy to cook. No wasted time cooking, cleaning. You just heat and you get healthy. Meat that's animal welfare level 5, which is the highest possible. So we like that. It's quality. It's one of their biggest priorities. Never frozen, organic produce. It's just really, really good stuff. You shop meal plans, you get 40% off by going to trifectanutrition.com/Fore. Use the code Fore, you get 40% off. Again, that's trifectanutrition.com/Fore. Code Fore, you get 40% off. We love Trifecta.
God, see, like, that's what I'm talking about, man. And
Yep.
That's what I was just saying for all the listeners back home that are listening. This is a little peek behind the curtain. Is I was like, we need to start getting these guys on this goddamn show. Sorry to use the Lord's name in vain there. I know I got a message the other day being like, you got to stop saying goddamn so much. He's like, I'm listening to
Guys and women, by the way, on the show.
Guys and women
on the
guys and women. So, but we're trying to get guys and women on this show that are just legitimately, they're thought leaders in the space, man. Like they just know things that we don't. We don't always have to talk off. Like, see that Dr. Von Snellenberg, the Caddie from fucking Happy Gilmore, just taught us about like brain, like work and the way that it maneuvers us into our lives. And like, are we born with certain cerebral parts of our brain that are bigger than others? I mean, come on, man. That's what I love. That's what I live for right there. We learned something and we thought about something.
Dude, yeah, he was perfect because he had the connection with Happy Gilmore, and then he was like, you guys want to talk about brains? And we're like, yep.
He just made me feel like when I'm standing over a golf ball attempting to do the right thing, that I have no chance because the space in my brain hasn't even been like set aside yet or built up yet to the right size and with the right real estate for the proper golf swing to fit in that part of my brain.
Here's my thing.
Any conversation about the brain eventually leads me to thinking that my thoughts aren't even my own thoughts. It's just neurons firing.
That's right.
Like, I think I'm a person. Like, I'm Trent, you're Frankie, Riggs, Lurch. But then at the end of the day, it's just this electricity firing in my brain, deciding these things for me. And that's when, normally I'm pretty cool, calm, and collected, and Frankie goes off the reservation. That's when I need to go take a walk and just sit on a park bench somewhere.
Trent, you are a fucking what you literally are is a pile of dust and particles that came together from like stars exploding and planets breaking up all over the goddamn universe over the last 13 billion years, and your pile of dust just happened to come together, and guess what? You're gonna like die and you're gonna become another pile of dust. You're gonna be all over the place. That's all you got. That's it.
Yikes.
And you have all these little electronic synapses just allowing you to like do the thing that we accept as humans. Like that's like it's somehow a system in which we are just comfortable with it now, right? Like we speak words and we go to work and we walk and we drink water and like all these things. That's just, we don't even know who's controlling it now, man. Jared von Snellenberg has just launched this campaign in my brain to make me think I'm not even a real person. I am, like you're saying, I am just a bunch of muscles and electronic little like synapses that are just firing off nonsense that we all just accept. And also, here's the other thing. Have I developed my brain, just like the taxi drivers in London and just like Tiger Woods and just like the guitarists, have I developed something in my brain where I can no longer hit wedges now? Has it been so long? has it been so many attempts that I now can know, like, that part is now bigger in a negative way.
It's called the yips, I think, is kind of what that.
But
that is.
I'm picturing my brain having a little bit of a pimple right here on the right, just like a little raise, and that's just negative thoughts above the golf ball. That's all that is. That little spot on my brain.
I would just
Dude,
love to
I
see
wonder
a
if he
picture
would
of the
at some
brain.
point let us come out there and like scan our brains.
I was gonna first thing I was gonna ask Trent, but I thought that
When
may be
Tiger
insensitive
Woods
with like
is
all the
hitting-
work he's doing.
Tiger Woods is hitting a ball in comparison to us, and like what your brain looks like at that moment of the swing.
His is just
and like
his is flatlined. Ours is fucking. Just
Guys,
Right.
I was gonna ask him that, but I just like I have two things why I didn't ask him that. Number one is that not the right thing to do to someone that's actually trying to change the world? And number two,
right.
if I go in there and they put a scanner on my brain, they're not letting me out. I am staying. I'm going to a new department.
Take your car keys. They're taking your.
No, there's something-
Your
there's-
cell
Why are my
phone.
arms strapped down? What's this all about?
Wait a minute. I'm telling you, bro, I end up in a gown and I just don't get to leave. They call my insurance and they're like, this kid's got to stay. We found something in, section 3, row 18.
All I know is I at some point want to see Jared Van Snellenberg again. He's just a really nice guy who knows a lot about the brain.
I want to have him, like, can we be his Rogan? Like, can he just come on and talk to us about all of his thoughts, his hypotheses,
Hypotheses, nice.
all of his hypotheses, all of his theories. I want Foreplay Golf Podcast presented by Barstool Sports and Owen's Mixers to be his platform to allow the world to understand what he's thinking about the brain.
Because I think he's got some ideas.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Like, he gave us the boilerplate, like, here's what I do, and when we scan the brains and we give him memory tests. But I think, like, when he goes home, he's thinking, like, I saw some shit today that I can't say at the office. I want him to come on this podcast and say it.
I always
He
think
also,
this.
I think he very clearly, too, is a guy who wants to tell people stuff because he at one point was like, yeah, there's a story I can't say, but then basically told the story. So I think he wants to tell people some shit.
I've always wondered this with doctors, especially, and now brain doctors for sure. But, like, do you think there's a sense, or like, do you think they ever go home and they're like, all right, let's say a heart doctor goes home and he just did fucking an open heart surgery, triple bypass surgery on a guy because the guy, all he ate his whole life was sauce and cheese and he had fatty parts.
Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids. Now, do you think that affects that guy's life, like when he goes home and eats like pizza on Fridays with his kids? Or do you think like Jared Von Snellenberg now like thinks about his brain like pulsating and moving in the way like now he's working with schizophrenic patients?
Dude, he has to.
Like,
Impossible not to.
Is he thinking about his brain being like, oh fuck, like if I just saw this brain do this, like what's mine doing? Like that would just throw me off, man.
Dude, he has to because of the same effect of like if you go buy, or you go lease like a yellow SUV, then the only thing that you see on the road are yellow SUVs. So it's like you can't, if you're over there grinding over the thoughts of the brain all day, you can't not implement that into thinking about your own brain.
Right.
I agree. You just take your work home with you. It's like, this is an extreme example, but like a homicide detective goes to work, sees all this crazy shit, and goes home. And he's like, man, I can't believe people are capable of that. And then you go and you look at brains all day, and you think like, damn, it's pretty crazy what brains are capable of.
God, it's got to be so like awesome, but also damning. Like it's horrifying sitting there in bed knowing so much about the brain. I'm grateful that I don't know that much about the brain.
It's important work.
But I'm grateful I don't
It
know
is.
that much because I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. If I knew what it took to get us to live, I don't know that I'd be able to live. Like, I don't know that I'd be able to
that
breathe.
could
If I
stop you in
knew
your
what
tracks.
actually 100%, if I knew like what had to go into the process to make my heart beat, I think I'd think about my heart beating every 5 seconds.
You know what all that just convinced me is that my brain isn't my brain. My brain is science's brain. Like,
Right.
This is not a brain that Riggs owns and operates. This is a brain that science owns and operates, and I'm just a function of that. I'm a result of that. I'm not driving it.
Right. We're just along for the ride.
That's
That's
a
right.
dangerous road to go down. I mean, like, that's
Yeah,
a very
real dangerous. Like,
like
could that
that
get
guy.
you out of a? Could that get you out? Like, does that hold up against the jury? Like, no,
I
I
don't know.
don't.
Why don't you give it a shot?
I'm not. That wasn't me. That was. There's neurons and shit going on up there. I can't control those.
It's not your
Oh,
brain,
just
it's
Carter.
a brain. It's a brain. It's just like a thing that's happening.
Hold on, gang. It's your brain. Like you
have
to be educated in this life. You make decisions. You can,
it is
as
a
he
brain.
said, you can scope and build out parts of your brain to be.
Yeah, you can customize it like a car a little bit. You can add you can add rims to it. You can add a body kit to it. You can do a few things, but
But is that you choosing to do those things, or is that a brain that just happened to be attached to your body?
I'd put it this way. I'll put it this way. I'd put it this way. I'm less in control than I thought I was.
100%, dude.
That's right.
Bro, these people that have these psychiatric problems and they don't understand what's going on in their brain, they have to go to Dr. von Snellenberg and hook up to these machines to see why the fuck their brains are doing stuff that they don't want it to do. It's not our brains. They are just brains that we have to deal with. And, we are just their little monsters that are running around and moving our arms and grabbing fucking Oars Alps SPF stuff, and we're grabbing Peter Millar shirts and pin golf rangefinders.
How do you think Jake Bass here on 421 now is handling all this brain chatter?
Jake can hear his heartbeat for sure right now.
Well, he's got 7 masks.
Because I've already pondered these things. These are thoughts that I've already had.
Dude, I want Jared von Snellenberg on this show at least once a month. At least once a month.
Yeah, to share his new findings or what he's working on?
Yeah, anytime something comes across his brain, not to go back to brains too much, where it gets like, I gotta talk to people about this, we are the people. He comes on this show and he talks about it.
Well, the flip side of that is whenever we have a What's Up Doc brain question, we got our guy now.
Even if it's just rehashing the same stuff we just talked about once a month, I'm fine with it. I want to hear him talk.
I could do that all day. I could do that for days straight.
Day long. And here's another call out to our listeners. If you know anyone in the space, in any spaces, that we should talk to, that personally, that you can put us in contact with, I'm just going to rattle off a couple people that I want to speak to and that I want on the show. Number 1, his name is Neil deGrasse Tyson. I want to talk space with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Number 2, I want to talk to an astronaut. Badly. If you have contact with any astronaut, someone that's been to space, preferably has touched the moon. I mean, that's an old guy, right? Because that was in the 60s?
Been a long time, yeah.
So maybe not touch the moon, but I want someone that has floated in space on this show. That's not that bad. That's not that tall of an ass. There's a lot of people that have
The first time that you realized that people haven't been to the moon in a long time, were you surprised?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes me think that we never went to the moon, but that's also a thing that I'm not going to get into on the public.
I really don't want to do that because I know you've grinded over the picture from the moon.
I think we've been to the moon. I think it's crazy, disrespectful to say that we haven't been, because there are definitely people that know that we went to the moon. My whole thing is all right, there's this Cold War. We have to get to the moon. We happened to get to the moon that one year. I know a lot of attempts didn't work before that, but we just never try again. Why do we just stop going to the moon? I don't understand. It's not a money thing. We spend money on the dumbest fucking things in the world. You're telling me that we don't want to go back to the moon ever?
Well, that was what was surprising to me. We went back a few different times and did different experiments, but then pretty shortly after they just stopped going. And I remember the first time learning that, I was like, no, I thought I assumed people were just up there right now just doing science and shit. What Dr. Van Snellenberg is doing for the brain, they're just doing on the moon right now.
I agree.
100%.
But yeah, it's been a good long while.
You know what? We need to talk to an astronaut to give us these answers.
I support that.
Why don't we go back to the moon?
Talking to an astronaut would be incredible.
Aren't they the most impressive people, all-around people,
mathematics
in the world?
They have to know everything.
They have to be physically more impressive than professional athletes. They have to be in terms of brain power more. They're unreal. They have to go through all these psychiatric tests that I'm sure Dr. Van Snellenberg would love to perform on them in order to get through it. They just have to be all around perfect, I think.
I mean, they're Earth's ambassadors as they leave. They're just that's them. They're going to be out there. And if something goes wrong, really wrong, they got to be able to figure it out because they're not there's not a hospital down the street.
I mean, we strap them to rocket ships and we just send them like to space.
And you know what's scary? And I think
Right, like at a certain point, that is what it is. Like you can talk to me about all the mathematics and how far away it is, but at some point it boils down to you're getting in that thing and we're lighting a big old fire under you and you're going up. Like that's
and
what it is.
we trust you. Like we trust you. Like you got this. Like go get them out there in space.
And
like,
the track record's not great, right? Like the track record's not great. These things blow up all the time. Like missions just fail. It's
very dangerous. Yeah,
very dangerous. And to bring it to one of our favorite comedians of all time, Dan Soder, I think he's the one that says like we've just gone to the edge of the driveway and opened up the mailbox. Like when it comes to like sending people to space, like
correct.
We've really just traveled to the edge of the driveway. Like the moon that we can see, we've gone there like a couple times, and we haven't gone there since. And everything else, we just send these robots out. Like we just haven't, as people, done really anything. Like when it comes to like what we really should be accomplishing, which is actually scary.
I mean, when we talk about that, like size and scope, like the mailbox, like when it just makes you feel uneasy. And then you start talking in circles though, too, because it's like what else is out there, and then makes you, Frankie, of all people, just go absolutely crazy. But it is almost impossible to think that as far as my eye can see is like the front stoop of the planet. You know, it's honestly preposterous at that level.
In our lifetime, will we see humans walk on Mars?
In our lifetime, I think that there will be attempts to see people go to Mars. And you know what? I think that we will. I think there will be a big push in the next like 20 years. Some crazy Elon Musk competitor will come in and try, and there'll be like a race to Mars. I really do think so. Yeah, I agree. I do.
I do too. Think about how cool of a whole thing that will be for all of us to experience when human beings because we're gonna have too with technology now. Like we should have like HD footage as these motherfuckers are just stepping onto Mars, and we'll have parties. There'll be people in Times Square. Like that'll be that'll be a monumental day that we'll all just hopefully.
Isn't it funny that it probably will be? It takes a race. It takes like saying someone, no, I'm going to get there before you for it to probably happen. Like I'll say Elon Musk is pretty motivated to get there. He seems like the guy who would be able to get us there. But if you throw like a rival at him, I think we get there twice as fast.
What do you think about the people that say we shouldn't worry about all that stuff? We should take care of all the stuff that's happening on Earth and blah, blah, blah. And we shouldn't like be sending people to Mars.
I think I get it. Because I like helping people, I think it's a good idea, but I think that they're wrong. Because I think like a lot of good discoveries, developments, inventions, moving society along from a technological standpoint that has ultimately helped people medically, that have come from, our exploration into space and a lot of other things.
Now, I wish I had the exact facts, and I'm not a facts guy, right? But I listened to Joe Rogan, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was on it, and he made the point that everyone brings up that, it's all about the budget, and the budget's ridiculous, and how could we give this much money to NASA for all this space exploration? And I believe, and people can like fact check me on this, but I believe he said if you took a dollar bill, and that whole dollar bill was like the budget that we have, right, for like America to like spend on stuff, like NASA and space exploration is like you don't even get into the green of the dollar. It's like still on the outside of the white. It's like 1.1% of like what we actually spend on stuff. And if you really think about like how important it is to find out what's happening in our galaxy and our solar system, and like they can try and predict the future and what our next plans are going to be for environmental stuff, that like minimal amount of percentage is just so like you shouldn't even think about it. You shouldn't even like understand where that money is going because it's so above your head and it's so minimal when it comes to what we actually spend. Don't even worry about it.
Well, there's also it's Armageddon. It's the line from Billy Bob Thornton where he says, like, people have questioned the reason for NASA's existence. Today we give them the answer, and then they go up and they save the world. So, at some level, if Earth's about to go extinct, and somehow what we're doing, like, if there's a time where we find out we're about to go extinct, Earth's about to go extinct, it's going to be way too late for us to be like, all right, well, let's just get everyone out of here and go figure something out. So, in theory, it's like it's just part of it. Like Frankie said, like it's a very small part of the budget relative to everything else. So I'm all for it. Clearly, I'm a big pro NASA guy. Also, it just gives us hope. It's exciting. Like our parents, everybody, they got to watch People land on the fucking moon. Like, how cool is that?
Unbelievable.
It's true.
It's awesome.
What
it's
a
awesome.
show.
What a show.
Yeah, man. You never know what you're going to get on the Foreplay Golf Podcast.
Never.
You just don't know what you're going to get. There's a team event this weekend. There's some cool teams out there that I'm excited to watch. But after talking about the brain and the moon, I don't know that we're going to do it justice. So I would rather talk about the results of it next week than kind of do some big kind of preview thing. So that's it for me. Do you fellas have anything else on today's lovely show?
Well, there was that one group, right? The Kiz group, the Foreplay group. Kiz and Brownie, Pat Perez and Kokrak. That's an awesome group. So make sure to keep your eye out for that at the Zurich Classic. Aside from that, I don't really have much else. Islanders destroyed the Rangers and they ruined their season.
We touched on it.
The golf is going to be fun this weekend.
Started the show that way.
Shout out to Jared Van Snellenberg.
Yep.
That's what I want to say. Shout out to that guy.
Really good guest. Interesting life. We'll be back on Tuesday. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard. Oh, wait a minute. We have to talk about this YouTube video that's coming out tonight, right? Or is it tomorrow? Is it tonight when this comes out?
What's today?
Today
it's coming out. It's coming out tonight when people are listening to this.
Holy shit! All right, so I mean, this is huge news. Does someone want to take this away? I mean, we played with Butch Harmon.
So yeah,
Rio Seco in Las Vegas.
Rio Seco in Vegas was our first stop. We landed. This is like a month ago or so, and people know that we did the Butch Harmon podcast. But all of that was unplanned, save for essentially E-Bug. Producer Brendan had sort of been communicating with Rio Seco. We put him in touch with them, and we knew the Butch Harmon school was there, and he was basically surprising us on the second hole. He was going to arrive, and Bug kind of knew some of this. We didn't. We didn't know any of it, and Butch was such the man that he played, he basically followed us and chirped and talked and gave us advice and told stories for, I would say, what turned out to be 10 or 11 holes. And then we convinced them afterwards. We just asked them, like, hey, you got time to do a podcast? We did the podcast. I'm sure everyone listening now listened to that one because it was one of the biggest ones we've ever done. So now if you liked that show, you have that podcast essentially in video form on the golf course of Butch reacting to what we were doing, reacting to our golf swings, how we were hitting shots, strategically working our way through it, chirping what happens in our game, chirping the outcomes of the round. And this video is going to be fucking awesome. Drone footage, dude, it's just really good.
Dude, I forgot that. So he basically did 9 holes with us, basically did the front 9 with us, and we had a match going on. And then I had forgotten until just now that he showed up again on the 17th or 18th hole and like finished out the match with us, and it was incredible.
Yeah, he's as candid of a guest appearance in any video we'll ever do. Any video we've ever done, any video we will ever do. We'll never get a guy that has his stature that is like so into it and so into like talking to the camera. I mean, he flips off the camera. Everything about him is just so perfect for a Foreplay YouTube audience, Barstool audience. Like he is just an older stoolie kind of guy. And it's just so perfect that it's Butch Harmon and he was fucking Tiger Woods' coach. And it's just, to me, it's a fake life type of guest in a video. I cannot wait for this thing to air. I'm assuming we're going to go 8:00 at night on YouTube. We're going to premiere it. We're all going to be in the chat. Just make sure you join there. Make sure you subscribe. Let's get this thing. Let's make sure a lot of people are in this premiere video. I like when we see a big number. Usually we're at the 4,000, 5,000 range. Let's get that thing up. Let's all be in there. Let's make fun of my titties. Let's make fun of Trent. Let's make fun of Lurch and Riggs. And let's go watch Butch Harmon. I cannot wait to be there with all of you. That's all I have for today.
The only thing that I thought Trent was going to speak to is that Butch also imparts himself in the match late in on when he joins us after the 17th hole. So I think, there's a few things to be ready to watch for. I think it's he's a beauty. His humor is incredible, but he's also a golf guy, and he also owns that course, I would say, pretty much. So, it's the rules we live under when we play at Butch's course.
Yeah, he makes a very important ruling on the 18th hole.
There's some iconic moments on the 18th hole in the entire match. So people are going to be talking about this one for a long time, I think, and it comes out tonight. So go to Foreplay Golf on YouTube, get yourself ready. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.